On behalf of Executive Director Richard Nilsson, I'm Bob Scott, the Director of Church Outreach for the Commonwealth Policy Foundation, part of the Commonwealth Policy Center. Appreciate so much you guys tuning in to today's broadcast. I am excited about today's program. It is a very important broadcast as we will be discussing the impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on our economy. And also, something that's not talked about enough, it is getting a little bit more play, but our emotional well-being as a part of this. Joining me in this discussion from Western Kentucky will be Kentucky State Senator and business owner Robby Wells. Welcome, Robby.
Hey, I'm here. Hey, Bob Mills.
Yeah,
Robby Mills.
Robby, yeah, well, I can't even get my writing correct. Robby Mills, that's correct. And sorry about that, Robby. I have also asked Louisville psychologist Chris Block here today to share his insights that he has observed as we walk through this pandemic. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Bob. It's good to be here. Appreciate the invitation to be on the broadcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we go on, I really want to acknowledge that this is Memorial Day weekend that's come upon us. We're honoring all those in the military who have served and died protecting our nation and our freedoms that we so richly cherish. I pray that the Lord will bless each and every one of them and their families and everyone who has paid the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. On March 6, 2020, Governor Beshear signed Executive Order 2020-215, declaring a state of emergency in Kentucky due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Commonwealth has begun reopening business on May 11th with a phased approach, and that's the way it is being determined, a phased approach. The most recent was this past Wednesday. We saw retail businesses opening, and with that in mind, Robby Mills, I'm going to throw this question to you because not only are you an excellent state senator, but you also own a business.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit how this shutdown has affected you and your business as a whole?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bob, and good to be here again. Always good to be on CPC and talk to all the viewers out there. I have a couple small service businesses. One of them is a 70-year-old family dry cleaning business in about 4 locations in Western Kentucky. And of course, when you shut down the economy and you tell people to stay at home and don't get out and they can't go to church and they can't travel, they're not going to work anymore, that terribly hampers the dry cleaning business. And, when it first happened, our business was probably off 90% of what we were normally doing. We employed about 20 people. We had to immediately lay all those employees off, and it was tough to hang on. Currently, we're at about 50% now. We're slowly gaining some traction and kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. But there's still a lot of bills to be paid and a lot of things that would have normally gotten taken care of in our business that haven't gotten taken care of the last month or so.
Were you able to take advantage of the PPP loan that was made available?
We did, and we were very thankful for that. But that PPP money actually had quite a few strings attached to it and helped you out in a certain place, but didn't help you out in other places. So it wasn't like free money to help you wherever you wanted to. And still, we're uncertain. We believe we spent the money properly, but until we get a note from the federal government saying that it's forgiven, it's still a substantial loan that's been made to us and our business.
What other feedback have you heard from other business owners? Obviously, I know you're out and about in your community. What have they shared with you as a result of this?
Well, I think they were all, at the beginning, everybody was all in and saying, look, let's do what we need to do. We want to keep people safe. We don't want to endanger people's lives. But as I would say over the last month or so, as things continue to be, and I'll say this, drawn out by our governor compared to Indiana and Tennessee, there is a continual upbeat of pressure, I believe, of people ready to get back to work and ready to have their freedoms back and stop having the government or the governor tell them what they can or can't do. I think a lot of people have learned what the safety precautions are that we need to take, and I think we've passed the mark of being able to just say, okay, everybody, go back to work, be very careful, and follow some of these basic protocols, and get back to your lives. And that's what I hear every day. And of course, the other thing I hear is just half of Kentucky's workforce is out of work.
Yeah,
They've signed
amazing.
up for unemployment. It is amazing. I can't believe it. They've signed up for unemployment, and I get daily emails from people in my district that have signed up for unemployment and have yet to get their first check. They've been waiting 4, 5, 6 weeks, and basically are just out of money, and they're desperate, and it's very, very tough for a lot of families right now.
Well, yes, and absolutely, because you really think about it. It's astonishing to think that up to 50% of Kentuckians are currently unemployed, and what impact that is having, not just on our economy, but the people themselves.
Yep.
I've heard several. I just heard a story today about a business owner who attempted suicide. Praise God that he wasn't successful in that attempt, but it was because of what has happened, to his business, and just a sense of hopelessness that is set upon him, and and that's something that I really want to discuss. And Dr. Block, again, thank you for being on today's program. And you are seeing issues and concerns right now in this season that you normally wouldn't be seeing. Could you share some of those?
Sure. Again, thanks, Bob, for having me on. And you're exactly right. We are hearing more about the emotional and the psychological impact of the coronavirus. And I'm sure that we will hear a lot more. We all have heard about the increase in depression rates, suicide rates, anxiety is skyrocketing. Substance abuse is certainly on the increase, along with child abuse and domestic violence. Those things are unlikely to remit very soon. What I'm seeing is a lot of fear of getting infected with the virus itself. There's tremendous anxiety among the unemployed, concerns and uncertainty about how they're going to pay their bills, if they're going to have a job to go back to, and those who are still working, are they going to be able to maintain their job? So there's a lot of stress and anxiety associated with that. Also, a lot of feelings of being trapped and isolated, but with the self-quarantining and staying at home, people are feeling disconnected from each other. And, we're social beings. We need relationships. We need connection. And when we're self-quarantining and staying home, we don't get that. So then that contributes as well to anxiety and depression and all of that. Also, a lot of concern about what the future will hold. And how is my life going to change? There's a lot of fear of the unknown, and what will be this new normal that we keep hearing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that phraseology, because you're hearing that a lot, both nationally and specifically here. Our governor has used that word a lot. What does that really mean?
Well, absolutely. We hear it over and over again, not just in this context. And it really concerns me. And I'll tell you why. But before I explain, I think it's important for me to kind of preface my comments a little bit by saying a few words about the concept of persuasion and how persuasion influences behavior. Advertisers, marketers, salespeople have been using the art of persuasion for decades. And the reason why they do is because they know that it influences behavior and it increases sales.
Mm-hmm.
There are several underlying principles that help us to explain why persuasion is effective. I won't go into all of those principles, but I'll just name a few. First is that we like to say yes to the people that we like.
Right.
So for example, if your favorite personality is endorsing a particular product, you're probably more likely to buy that product than you would be an unknown person. That's a very powerful principle. We also like to do what other people around us are doing. So there's an issue of conformity there and a desire to conform to what other people are doing. There's also an authority issue. We tend to do what the experts tell us to do. And certainly we've had a number of experts weigh in and tell us what we need to be doing during this pandemic. So we don't want to really deviate from that. There's also consistency and commitment. We tend to say yes to the things that we're already committed to. So if we're committed to staying at home, wearing a mask, and all of those kinds of things, we're likely to continue to do those kinds of things. And the last thing is simply repetition. The more you say something, it makes it easier to remember.
Yes.
But it also reinforces the message. And unless we're given contrary information, we're more likely to accept it as truth. So I just wanted to preface the words that I want to say about my concern about the new normal. Having said that, most of us, I think, have been more than willing to take precautions, adhere to social distancing, wear masks, stay home unless it's absolutely necessary to go out. And that's all been to flatten the curve and slow the spread. And I think we've reached that point. I think the implication in the beginning also was that those steps would be temporary. My concern, however, and what concerns me particularly about the new normal is what permanent changes are we going to be asked to make? You know, the new normal, that term, it connotes or implies something that's conventional, it's routine, it's acceptable. It's become a part of our vernacular, and so it sounds very benign. If something is normal, then the opposite must be abnormal, right? None of us want to be abnormal.
Right.
So there's an implied expectation of conformity and a desire that we have to conform ourselves. I fear that that might be used intentionally by some folks to promote an agenda that over time can slowly and subtly restrict our freedoms and liberties.
Okay.
So that's my concern about the new normal. On the surface, it sounds very benign, and but I think we have to look a little bit deeper into the actual meaning of that and what that's going to mean moving forward.
Yeah, and we really are in a time of uncertainty, obviously, and I know going back to my Marketing 101 class that I took in college, you know, it was brought up, you know, that if you had to hear something at least 6 to 8 times before it would actually register, you know, with you. So that is a very true concept, a basic concept. And again, it has been applied, unfortunately, down through history in a lot of totalitarian regimes, you know, whether, you know, you go back to World War II and the Nazis, and I'm not implying anything like that per se is happening right now, but I'm just saying this is a time that we need to be very wary. And, our founding fathers put in our Constitution for a reason, and these are all things that need to be followed. I know that as myself and Richard have been talking to different pastors across the state, there is a lot of concern, that things are to be done in balance. And we very definitely agreed with the idea initially of mitigation to see how things are playing out. But we've also seen other countries, such as Sweden, such as Taiwan, that didn't shut down their economies at all, through this. And they all seem to be doing pretty well, as a result of that. And not to undermine or understate COVID-19 being potentially very deadly, but statistically we are seeing that it is a definite subgroup of people. Virtually children are not touched, by this. It's usually folks that are older and those who have some kind of underlying medical condition, not saying in every situation, but that does seem to be the case. I'm going to pivot back to Robby Mills with regard to this, and maybe put on your senator hat now, Robby. I heard, in fact, I know apparently the governor has, to his credit, been reaching out, doing virtual coffee houses with certain state legislators from around our state recently, I guess just basically asking their opinion, with regard to the situation. We know, and I'm going to make this a definitive statement, we know that our economy cannot continue to stay in lockdown. We have to get it open, and the governor has started that process. It is being weighed out and done differently by different businesses. But have you heard from the governor, just out of curiosity? Have you been invited to one of these virtual coffee houses?
No, I have not. Let me back up a little bit and kind of give a little bit of, put some meat on that bone. Tuesday, well, first of all, the governor has not, up until Wednesday, the governor has not conferred with any legislators at all. Typically leadership are conferred by the governor, just to say, brought in and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Not really even, what do you think about this? But this is what I'm doing. With this huge monumental decision of shutting down the economy, and then, even big of a decision on how to re-implement and let everybody get back to work, he had not, it had been his decision alone and his advisors that were appointed by him. So Tuesday in a committee meeting, it was the first time that I had an opportunity to voice my dissatisfaction with the governor. And I did a kind of a small little floor speech and said that I was, dissatisfied and disappointed that he had not, included what I consider to be experts in every area of Kentucky. So lo and behold, after that, he starts having these virtual coffee meetings on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So to my knowledge, no senators have been invited yet. It's just been state representatives from the Louisville area. So, but the long and the short is that I am happy that he's reaching out and asking our opinion. I think it's a little late, to be honest with you, but I would still be very much encouraged if he would expedite some of the openings, specifically with restaurants that, I'm hearing a lot of folks in my area. And of course, I'm up against Indiana, and then just the southern part of my district, not far from Tennessee. Restaurants are at 100% capacity in Indiana, and we're at 33%. Not very many people can make a living, pay their bills, and pay their employees on 33% capacity. It's just not. It's just, if you're a business person, you understand that. If you're a bureaucrat, you don't understand that.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of, what I consider to be missteps that in Kentucky's approach to this is that it's been 100% bureaucrats making these decisions and not very many people out in the communities and professional people that are in business that understands budgets and cash flow and things of that nature. There's been a lot of science. There's been a lot of doctors and lawyers, but not very many people that had their feet on the ground day to day.
I hear you. And really, as far as the restaurant industry is concerned, their margins are so razor thin anyway.
Yeah.
I agree. There's no way that they can operate on 33%. Chris,
yeah.
With regard to this whole isolating process that we've been walking through, people like we are right now have turned to social media. It's a way of communicating. And I know Robby has been gracious enough to join us. He's on the road right now. As you can see, he's in a car. That's really one of the cool things about this. We can do this kind of thing and have this ability to talk with each other about these important issues. But what are the pros and cons of this that you're seeing with regard to this, Chris?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bob. The pros about social media are that it's very quick and it provides very quick and useful information. It's a source of entertainment. It has expanded, our horizons to, the nth degree. So there are a lot of good things about it. It's easy access to information, and certainly it helps us to stay connected with each other when otherwise we may not be able to, particularly if people are located in different cities or states, things of that nature. So the use of social media is very, it's very useful. The cons about it is that you can get really saturated very quickly with all of the negativity that's going on that you see right now. There's constant back and forth, people arguing on Twitter, on Facebook, all of these different things. That really can weigh on a person's mental health and create a lot of stress. And what we know about the accumulation of stress is that over time, it can weaken your immune system, makes you more susceptible to illness and some of those other emotional things that we talked about before, like depression and anxiety. So that's where the danger in social media comes in. So I always talk to people when they present that kind of issue, they're getting saturated, they're getting stressed out, is go on a media fast. Put the phone down, turn the TV off, and get away from it for a while. I've done it myself, and it's very helpful. You can kind of do a reset, so to speak. So yeah, it's very, there are a lot of good things about social media, but then just that saturation that people can quickly accumulate, that can be really problematic.
Yeah, and that's where really a question or a statement to both of you guys is the cure that we're now experiencing worse than the disease itself, and I guess taking it a step further is the long-term impact, potentially out there, going to be an avalanche of things that we can't even right now tell what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that we don't know yet, Bob, and time will tell and give us those answers. But we just don't know that right now.
I guess a question, I know I promised that we would keep this at about a half an hour, but what are some of the things folks can do to cope with the stress they might be feeling right now, Chris?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, taking a media fast is really important. The other things people can do is maintain structure in your day. If you're stuck at home and you're not working, try to maintain a schedule, a routine in your day. That's very important so that you're not kind of lost to kind of thinking about horrible things, catastrophizing a situation, things of that nature. Other thing is focus on the present.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing we can do about the past.
Right.
And we certainly can't control the future. So determine what you can control now, okay? And try to stay focused there. I think changing your perspective and the way you kind of approach this whole thing is very important. It requires some conscious effort, but we know that we can actually alter our brain structure when we practice new ways of thinking. So if you can find meaning and purpose in a situation, that can be helpful. I always talk to people about trying to find opportunities in threatening situations. You can find an opportunity to do something that you haven't done in a while. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. Recognize that you have choices. Still, we may have limitations imposed on us, but we still have choices in other areas of our lives that are available to us. Self-care is always important. It's always important to take care of yourself. Eating well, exercising, hydrating yourself, getting adequate sleep, all of those kinds of things. The other thing is too, is if you're going to take a media fast, if you don't want to take a complete media fast, get off of Twitter and Facebook, but connect in other ways, like we are here with Zoom or Skype. Yeah. At least you get some face-to-face, kind of visual contact with someone, but you're not subjecting yourself to that constant negativity that we see all the time on those other platforms.
Okay, Senator Mills, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think he makes several great points there. I think it's interesting just talking about media. I need a media fast right now, but you've seen President Trump, I believe, in the last week or so, kind of make a pivot toward looking past this. We're getting the economy open. Let's get back to work, and I think there will be opportunities after this. Unfortunately, when bad things happen to folks and businesses go out of business and things of that nature, I mean, there are opportunities for folks that survive, to pick up business and to expand. So I think there are, instead of worrying about, all the things that are going on around us that are terrible, I think we should spend a little bit of time thinking about, future and starting to plan. Amen. When things do get a little more certain, when we can know we can shoot boom out of the box and be ready and off and going. That's from a business perspective. And then Amen. From a state government perspective, I think, we've got some tough times coming. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel in state government as much as I do from a business perspective. And we've got a lot of tough decisions to make in the future. But I think, obviously from a Christian standpoint, I mean, we need to keep ourselves girded up in prayer and have conversations with our Lord and Savior. Amen. And do those things that encourage us spiritually, and that goes a long way in battling all the negativity that's out into the world. So that'd be my encouragement to folks, is that don't forget where your true strength comes from and who our main supplier is of our income, and our encouragement is the Lord. So thank you, Bob, for allowing me to say a few things today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, your words are well taken, Senator Mills, and thank you for being on the show. That's the thing I love about both you guys. I know you know where your rock is, and that rock is Jesus Christ. And your information that both of you shared today has been very helpful. And also a special thanks, I got to give a shout out to our own Ben Taylor, who has worked hard behind the scenes. In fact, he drove to Dallas, Texas. I think he got up at like 3 a.m. Yesterday and got in. So he's kind of operating on not a ton of sleep, and I appreciate him doing this, as he does all of our broadcasts. And Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. CPC is very blessed to have a loyal and strong group of folks who follow us and in our ministry. And we want to wish each and every one of you a safe and relaxing Memorial Day weekend. Until we meet again, God bless you all.